I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who'd uncover betrayal through a bank statement. I wasn't snooping, just doing what I always do, checking our savings, the money we'd set aside for our future. A house, kids, stability. But that morning, staring at the screen, my heart stopped. $42,000. Gone. Not misplaced. Not withdrawn for something we agreed on. Gone to someone else. The name next to those transfers wasn't a stranger's. It was his ex. The woman he swore was long behind him. In that moment, I felt the ground under our marriage start to crack. Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an incredible story like this one. It's around 3,000 words, rich in drama, emotion and detail, with no headings or breaks. When I married Daniel, I thought I was stepping into a forever kind of love, the kind people write novels about. We'd been together for 5 years, married for 2, and for most of that time, I thought we had the kind of relationship others envied. He had this calm, dependable energy. He listened. He made me laugh. He remembered the smallest details. It wasn't a whirlwind romance, but a steady fire that felt safe. At least, that's what I believed. The night everything unraveled, I realized how easily safety can be an illusion. I work in finance, ironic, considering what happened, and I've always been the one who keeps our accounts in order. Daniel had his own job in marketing and was doing well, but we agreed early in our marriage to keep a joint savings account for big expenses. Trips, emergencies, our future home. I checked the account every month, mostly out of habit, because nothing ever changed drastically. Until it did. I remember it was a Tuesday morning. I was sipping my coffee, scrolling through emails, and almost didn't check the account. That something nudged me. When I saw the balance, I thought I had misread the numbers. $42,000 gone. Not missing a few hundred for bills. Gone. Like someone sliced through our savings. With a machete, my hands shook as I logged in again, convinced it was an error. But the statement was clear. Transfers to a new account I didn't recognize, spread out over 3 months. $5,000 here. $8,000 there. Some of the transactions even had little notes, like, trip, help, and the most infuriating, gift. I called Daniel right away. He answered casually, like nothing was wrong. Hey babe, what's up? I asked where the money was. There was a pause. It wasn't long, maybe 2 seconds, but it was long enough to tell me everything. He knew. What money? He tried to play dumb. My voice cracked but stayed cold. The $42,000 missing from our savings. Where is it, Daniel? There was another pause. Then a sigh. Not guilt, not panic, just annoyance, like I was bothering him. Look, it's complicated. I can explain later. I'm at work. He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone like it had betrayed me. That was the first time in our marriage I felt something break inside me. Not a snap, but a slow, splintering crack. I didn't wait for him to come home. I opened our files, checked every statement, tracked the destination account. Some of the transfers were through PayPal, others through wire. What I found made my stomach twist. The name attached to several transfers was someone I recognized. Melissa, his ex. His high school sweetheart who, according to him, was ancient history. They dated on and off for years before I ever entered his life. She was the one he swore was toxic and never coming back. But she had. And he had sent her my money, our money. I spent that day cycling through anger, disbelief, and a kind of bone-deep humiliation. I didn't cry yet. It was too big for tears. When Daniel came home that night, he walked in like nothing was wrong. He kissed me on the cheek, set down his bag, and started talking about dinner. Sit down, I said. My voice was flat, He froze when he saw my face. I showed him the printed statements. He didn't deny it. He just rubbed the back of his neck like a teenage boy caught sneaking out. "I was going to tell you," he said. "Oh, were you?" I spat back. "Before or after you emptied our savings?" His excuses were pathetic. Melissa had fallen on hard times. She was struggling. She needed help. She wanted to start over. He used every cliché in the book. He said he didn't want to worry me, that he was handling it. Handling it? By funneling our savings to the woman he used to sleep with. He even tried to spin it as charity, as if betrayal became noble when wrapped in pity. But the part that made me want to scream was when he said, "It's just money. We can make more. Just money." He hadn't just stolen cash, he'd stolen trust, plan, security. I asked him if he was still in love with her. He didn't answer immediately. That silence was worse than a yes. I walked away from him that night. I slept in the guest room, though I barely slept at all. My mind kept replaying everything. Every smile he gave me, every "I love you," now all painted with a smear of lies. The next day, I hired a lawyer, not to file for divorce yet, but to protect myself. I moved half of the remaining funds to an account only in my name, changed all my passwords, and set up monitoring on every credit line. I also reached out to an old friend of mine, a private investigator. If Daniel thought I would quietly cry in a corner, he'd chosen the wrong woman. Within a week, I had everything. Receipts, screenshots, photos, messages. They'd been seeing each other for months. He'd taken her on trips, paid for her apartment, bought her jewelry. Some of the transfers even matched dates they checked into hotels together. She wasn't struggling. She was enjoying herself on my dime. And she wasn't even discreet. She'd been posting little hints on Instagram: expensive dinners, spa days, luxury handbags. I had been liking some of those posts without realizing they were funded by me. The rage that simmered inside me wasn't wild and uncontrollable. It was cold, calculated. The kind of rage that doesn't destroy everything in its path it aims, and it hits. When I finally confronted him with the evidence, he didn't cry or beg. He actually tried to make me feel guilty. "She needed me," he said. "She's been through a lot." As if my pain was somehow less real than hers. As if being his wife meant less than being the woman who broke his heart a decade ago. That was when I decided I wouldn't just leave. I would end this on my terms. Melissa liked showing off. That much was obvious. So I decided to give her an audience. Daniel's company had an annual gala coming up. Black tie, luxury hotel. A kind of event where he liked to parade me around like a trophy. He'd already told me he wanted to go together. I agreed. What he didn't know was that I had invited a few extra guests. I reached out to Melissa, pretending I didn't know. I used a fake Instagram account, messaged her about Daniel's wife being out of town, and how it was the perfect night to make an entrance. She took the bait. She bragged she'd be there, and she wasn't coming alone. She'd be wearing the diamond necklace he bought with my money. Perfect. I also sent anonymous tips to a few people at his office, select people who loved gossip. I didn't have to say much. Just a few hints about Daniel's secret girlfriend, and how they might see something interesting at the gala. It was like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline. On the night of the event, I wore a black dress that could silence a room. I wanted to look composed, powerful, untouchable. Daniel smiled at me when he saw me, like nothing had happened. He had no idea I was about to set his world on fire. We arrived at the gala hand in hand. I could feel people's eyes on us, the perfect couple. But then she walked in. Melissa. Red dress, too tight, too short for the occasion. Glittering with jewelry that I recognized because I paid for it. Her arm was looped through his friend's +1 spot apparently. She had her own way in. The moment Daniel saw her, his face drained of color. He hadn't expected her to actually show up. And definitely not like this. She waved at him. He froze. I smiled, a soft, polite smile, the kind that looks innocent but isn't. I excused myself and took the mic from the MC between speeches. I'm good at public speaking. Years in finance will do that to you. I hope you don't mind a quick toast, I said sweetly. Everyone turned to look at me. Daniel's eyes widened. I just wanted to thank my husband, Daniel, I began, for being such a generous man. So generous, in fact, that he managed to donate $42,000 to a cause very dear to his heart. A few laughs rippled through the crowd. Confused but entertained. A cause named Melissa. Her name dropped into the room like a bomb. Every head turned toward her. She froze, her hand instinctively clutching the necklace. Daniel stood up, hissing my name under his breath, but I wasn't finished. Yes, Melissa. The lovely woman wearing the necklace I paid for. The same woman my husband has been secretly supporting for months. Trips, gifts, rent. Truly, he's a philanthropist. The crowd's laughter stopped. People whispered. Someone gasped. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I spoke like I was reading a financial report, precise and merciless. Daniel lunged for the mic, but I stepped back. Oh, and for anyone wondering, I added, yes, I have proof. Every wire transfer, every receipt. I could share them, but I think the visuals tonight are strong enough. Melissa's face had gone crimson. Daniel looked like he might vomit. His boss was there. So were his colleagues, our friends, some of our family. I handed the mic back with a smile and raised my glass. To generosity, I said. May it always be this spectacular. The rest of the night unfolded like theater. Melissa tried to leave, but not before someone asked loudly if the dress she wore was also part of the donation. Daniel chased after her, but she pushed him away. People whispered and stared. Some were pretending to be shocked. Others were clearly enjoying the drama. By the time I slipped out of the hotel, Daniel's life was unraveling in real time. I didn't go home. I went to a hotel room I'd booked days before. I'd already packed a bag. The divorce papers were drafted, waiting for my signature. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I was done. The next morning, I moved the rest of my things out. I left him the bare minimum. He came home to an empty house and silence. When he finally called, he sounded like a man who just realized he wasn't invincible. We can fix this, he said. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. No, Daniel, I said calmly. You broke something you can't fix. You didn't just betray me. You made me your fool. And I don't stay where I'm not respected. He begged. He cried. He blamed Melissa. He blamed stress. He even blamed me for not understanding. But it didn't matter. I didn't raise my voice once. I just kept saying, it's over. A few weeks later, I filed for divorce. His company eventually heard everything. His boss didn't like scandals. He lost his promotion. Melissa disappeared from his life just as fast as she'd re-entered it. Turns out, she was only loyal to the money. As for me, I didn't just rebuild. I thrived. It wasn't easy at first. The betrayal had sharp edges. There were nights I lay awake wondering how someone who promised forever could betray so easily. But eventually, the weight of him lifted. The house was quieter, but it was mine. My finances were under my control again. My laughter was mine. My strength too. A few months later, I sat at a cafe, scrolling through news on my phone. I saw a photo of Daniel from a mutual friend's feed. He looked thinner, tired, worn down. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger either. I felt nothing. And that was freedom. People sometimes ask if I regret the way I exposed him. If it was too much. I tell them the truth. That night at the gala wasn't revenge. It was closure. I wasn't going to quietly carry his secret. I was going to hand it back to him in front of everyone, wrapped in a bow of his own making. I learned something important through all of this. Love isn't blind. Trust is. And once someone uses that trust to build their lie, the only thing left to do is burn it down and walk away. I walked away, not as a woman broken by betrayal, but as one who chose herself. I kept the diamond necklace Melissa wore that night. Not because I liked it. It wasn't my style. But because it reminded me of the moment. I stopped being the woman who waited for explanations. I became the woman who made her own ending. Daniel tried reaching out months later. Flowers. Emails. A letter where he wrote he missed me. That he messed up. That he'd do anything to get me back. But the thing about betrayal is that it changes the language between two people. Every word sounds different after. Even love. Especially love. So I sent back the letter, unopened. I didn't need an apology. I had my peace, and Melissa. She posted on Instagram for a while after, living off the last of his donations. But people talk. Word spread about the gala. About her. About how she'd been called out in front of everyone. She deleted her account eventually. She moved on to someone else's wallet, I suppose. Sometimes, when I tell the story to friends over wine, they ask how I kept my composure. How I didn't throw a drink in his face or scream. I tell them the truth. I didn't need chaos. He gave me enough of that already. I needed a clean cut. A story I could close like a book. And that night, at that luxury dinner in front of every pair of eyes that ever believed we were the perfect couple, I closed it. He wrote the betrayal. I wrote the ending. I took the $42,000 he stole and more in the settlement. I bought myself a small apartment with big windows and filled it with quiet mornings and soft light. No secrets. No lies, just me. I traveled to Italy with my own money, drank wine overlooking the sea, and didn't think about him once. When I stood on the balcony one evening, the sun dipping low and warm, I realized I was free in a way I'd never been before. I'm not naive anymore. Love is real, but it's not enough without trust. And if anyone ever tries to turn me into a supporting character in their betrayal again, they'll learn what Daniel did. I don't just leave. I end the story on my terms.